There is a time when you are going to drop your calories. There is a time when you are going to be able to work out harder. For me, that time is not now. If I do that, I will get sick. I don't know about you. To lose 15, 20 pounds right now, is that worth potentially getting sick in the future and living 10 years less? For me, it is not. Because not having my mom to walk me down the aisle, meet my husband, to meet my son. And so as much as I want to lose some weight and look a certain way, there is no amount of life worth giving to miss out on those things. And you might be like, well, Steph, you're not menopausal. This doesn't apply to me. Yes, it does, because you are going to see that my estrogen and progesterone and testosterone are crap. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness coaching company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it's the hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or waking around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You are putting in all this effort and you are just moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today's podcast is awesome. I'm very excited. I am going over Dutch hormone testing, my personal results, but also talking about, okay, if you see this, this is what it means. And I'm going to tie it into symptoms, what the action plan is. And you might be like, well, Steph, you're not menopausal. This doesn't apply to me. Yes, it does, because you are going to see that my estrogen and progesterone and testosterone are crap. When we are looking at our Dutch hormone testing, there's a visual. So there's visuals on YouTube. So hop on YouTube if you can. If you can't, you're still going to understand. I'm going to talk about what my results are, the action plan, what this looks like for me, symptoms, all those kinds of things. But you are going to see that compared to the last Dutch test I took, all of my levels were actually in the postmenopausal range, which should not be because I am still in reproductive years. So you have a nice green range where you want to be, and there's purple on here, which shows your postmenopausal range. I am out of the postmenopausal range. Yay, this is better than last time, but I'm still below the reproductive stage where I want to be at. So basically estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are all terrible. And something that you're going to also see here is that my cortisol is also not super great. And so this is something that I have had to learn to deal with for my entire life. This is something that I think a lot of people can resonate with because you feel like you've done the work. You went through trauma in your past. You went through the stress. You went through all of those things. And so you're like, okay, I did the work. I did the therapy. I did the things. I'm less stressed out now. It's great. Wrong. Your body is still going to perceive stress despite you not perceiving it as stress, logically in your mind. And this is because your bodies, if you've been through that kind of trauma like I have, where there was abuse, physical and emotional. There was, lots of bullying. Maybe you were living in a house like I was with mold. There's lots of things of trauma in my life. And so I'm out of that. I've been out of that for a very long time. I've done the work. I feel good. I've learned from it. I've learned to look at that experience and grow from it, not hold a grudge against it, not be upset about it, forgave those people. I am good. I am happy. I love my job. However, my nervous system is very hyperreactive, and it's a protective mechanism from being in that life of high stress for such a long time. And it can feel really frustrating. It can feel really unfair because I've put in the work. This isn't something I should need to deal with anymore. I've dealt with my past. Doesn't matter, right? I need to work with my body, with the cards that I have been dealt. I need to make the best situation as possible, and pushing harder and trying to cut calories is not going to help me. And so this is where understanding your body and learning to work with it instead of against it, giving it grace instead of feeling frustrated, and really understanding what your body needs to see those changes is so important. And so let's dive into my Dutch test. I'm going to talk about what my symptoms were, why this makes sense, what the action plan is, food choices, supplements, exercise regime, all of those things. And so when we look at page number 1 on our Dutch test, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have 3 dials at the top that say estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. As you can see, all of mine are pretty crappy. They are very, very, very low, which explains a lot. And we'll get into that in a little bit here. But the nice thing is that when we look at my estrogen dial versus progesterone, the arrows are pointing in pretty much the same direction, which is good. Even though they're both low, if estrogen was higher than progesterone, even though they're both in the low range, I would have more symptoms of estrogen dominance, making me feel a lot worse. So the good news is although they're both crappy, at least they're both equally crappy. So that is a good thing for me. Then we want to look at testosterone compared to estrogen. So you'll see testosterone's a little bit higher than estrogen, not too much, and they're both not great. However, when we see people who have a lot more testosterone compared to estrogen, that is going to tell us that we're likely more androgen dominant. So I did a podcast with Cariana on this a little whiles ago. And androgen dominance almost always leads to belly fat. Like it's a very, very common thing that we see. And this is also what happens sometimes during perimenopause and menopause, which can happen in your 30s, can happen in your 40s. Early perimenopause can start in your 30s, which a lot of people don't realize. So this is something that it's really great to be proactive about, because otherwise when estrogen does drop, now we see that it's dropping faster than testosterone, and now we see more weight gain. So when estrogen is higher, we see more weight maybe in the hips, the thighs, but when testosterone is higher compared to estrogen, this is where we see more belly fat, and it's more inflammatory, which is actually going to shut off our fat burning pathways, which is the last thing that we want. So that's a little summary of just those pieces. Then we go into this beautiful cortisol curve, which I'm joking because mine is not great. So when I wake up, this was overnight. So my cortisol was low, which is good. We want our cortisol to be low at nighttime. If this is high upon waking, this is like a midnight waking up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. If my cortisol was high, that would tell me that I have a lot of stress. Maybe I am having, I fall asleep okay, but then somewhere in the night, my fight or flight would be turning on if this waking A number was high, so outside of this range. And so when that happens, we know that it could be a few different reasons. It could be stress. It could be, anticipatory stress. So like you have a big exam the next day, or a big appointment or whatever it might be. So you could be pre-anticipating that, which is raising your cortisol levels. You might have to be struggling with like a racing mind. You could just have poor sleep habits. Maybe someone's waking you up. Maybe it's snoring. Maybe it's kids. Maybe it's pets. Could be blood sugar related. Could be some gut health issues as well. Could be that you had alcohol before bed. Could be that you're struggling with inflammation or infection. So there's a lot of things that could be impacting your sleep and that elevated cortisol at nighttime. And so this is where assessing these things, also pairing it with our symptom assessment, can really help us understand, okay, what is the issue? Luckily for me, I am down for the count. I am out. I am good. Stress does not elevate. I am sleeping hard through the night. Bless my husband for being the one that wakes up with our child at nighttime, because he does not have a terrible stress response like I do. So for the better health of both of us and just life in general, he takes over for that, which is awesome. So then we know here, my cortisol, this increase in the slope here from waking A to morning B, is real high. Like that's a pretty steep curve, and that's your cortisol awakening response. Mine is very, 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 very high. If this was low, we would say you have a sluggish cortisol awakening response, which means like you might be struggling to, get moving in the morning. You're feeling tired despite, sleeping well. But mine is very high. So again, this could be because of like anticipatory of all the things I got to do during the day, which 100% is what it is. I'm a very go, go, go person, running a business, being a mom, being a wife, all the things that I got to do in a day. And it's not necessarily bad stress. I'm looking forward to work and all the things that I got to do in a day, but my body is perceiving that as a stress. So we have a very high cortisol response, and it's above the high range that we would like to see. So that means Stephanie needs to learn to relax a little bit, which is wild. If cortisol stays elevated, this can be a problem. So if this number stays high at the next sample, this can be an issue where it actually diverts something called tryptophan away from being able to build serotonin, which is our happy hormone. And so this also happens when we have estrogen dominance. This also happens when we have a lot of inflammation. And a very common symptom of this is depression. So people who have more symptoms of depression in the morning that carry on a little bit into the day, sometimes this can be part of it, is because your cortisol is so high, you literally can't produce your happy hormone, which is a problem. And so a lot of people will put on antidepressants, anti-anxieties, which have their place and are super important and can be really helpful for people. But sometimes that's not the problem. It's like, okay, yeah, you can't produce enough of your happy hormones, but why? There is something going on here hormonally that is an issue. And this is something that we work with a lot of women, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like all ages. If we have that low blunted cortisol awakening response where the waking A to B is very flat, which we do see in women as well, I say we get about like 50-50 of like really high versus really low. And this can be results of an underactive stress response system or excessive psychological burnout, which we don't even realize we're in half the time. Like when we tell people like your body is stressed, it's like, no, I'm not. It's like, this doesn't lie. Like you absolutely are. This could also be like seasonal affective disorder. It could also be caused due to sleep apnea, poor sleep hygiene, PTSD, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. And so we know this has also been associated with hypertension, so high blood pressure, functional gut health issues, postpartum depression, autoimmune diseases. So we can see that how your stress response system is highly correlated to a lot of other things that we might be seeing. And so people start treating those symptoms of, the gut health issues or the blood pressure with medication, right? When really it's actually something going on with your stress response system that is causing these things. So we need to look at the whole body in general through symptom assessments, through a test like this to be able to assess, okay, what is actually causing this for you? So then we also have our cortisol dials on the right here. So DHEA production is pretty good for me, which is awesome. We're going to touch on that in a little bit here. But I want to draw attention to these two dials, which is not good. I'm going to be honest. When I got my test results back, I was like, dang it. Like I was really hoping for something different. And at first I was panicked. I'm not going to lie because we want to get good results, right? But this also tells me there is so much that I can do. I'm not an anomaly. Like there's nothing wrong with my body. This is just how it's functioning. And I got to work with it and support it in the way that needs to happen. So like a lot of people can feel upset about it, but this is good news. We know you're not broken. Like now we know what's going on. We can fix it, which is great. So for myself, I have very high free total cortisol. And then I have very low metabolized cortisol. So what this means is I have a lot of cortisol in my body. My body is not good at breaking it down. So this means I have very sluggish cortisol clearance. This means my bathtub is like blocked. My drain is blocked. It's clogged. So this is like my body keeps like, the tap is on, water's filling up the bathtub, but I can't get rid of that. And so now my bathtub is at risk of overflowing. Some common reasons for this are poor liver function, which you're going to see. There's a lot of indications of this on my test. I could have subclinical or hypothyroidism. Definitely like a T3 is low. So the active form of thyroid hormone is not where it needs to be. And this is typically due to too much stress. We see this a ton in women who are over-exercisers, where this ends up being a big reason as to why their body can't break things down, is because they're slowing down their thyroid conversion from the stress of over-exercising, where we actually have to tailor people back. And so that's page 1. Then we have page 2. Page 2 gives you a bunch of numbers. We're not going to worry about that. We are going to go straight to page 3 because page 2 is really just a written number version of page 3. And page 3 is visual. And I love visual. It helps us a ton. So first, let's look at DHEA. So remember on the first one, I said, oh, this is pretty good, right? This number was awesome. But where is it going? Because DHEA is something that a lot of people will take because it's supposed to help build things like estrogen. It's helps support testosterone production. But obviously for me, my testosterone and estrogen are crap, so that's not where it's going. And this is where like someone could take DHEA because they think it's going to help produce those things. But if the pathways to building those things are blocked, you can actually make your imbalances worse, which if I were to take DHEA, I would feel terrible. And this is why understanding this stuff with a Dutch test and understanding these things when it comes to supplement recommendations is so important, because otherwise you risk you feeling a lot worse. So obviously DHEA is not going where I want it. Not going to testosterone, clearly, not going to estrogen. I have some going to DHEAS, which is great. It kind of gives it a hall pass, which allows it to go and build other things in your body. But the majority is going to my androgens. And so we don't like this, going to my secondary androgens. This makes sense to me because A, I have PCOS, so we know that. But unfortunately, this is where that stress threshold from past trauma, grief of losing my mom, abuse and bullying in my past, toxin exposures, all those things have really lowered my stress tolerance and made my body hyper reactive. I've done the mental work. I've done all that. I feel really good about my past, but my body is literally just trying to keep me safe. And this is what it does when it perceives stress, is that it pushes me into this androgen side of my pathway, which is not ideal. We don't want that. And it's frustrating because I know I can push harder. I know I can cut my calories. I know I can work out harder. I know I can be stronger in the gym because I've done it. But I can't do that right now. Despite the fact that I feel like I can, I should not. Because by doing that, I'm going to do so much harm than good if I try to push myself right now and make this imbalance significantly worse. So I can't cut calories right now. I cannot push in the gym. I need to focus solely on recovering, improving my liver health and my gut health, my inflammation predominantly, supporting my thyroid. These are really big things because if I do that, I can cut calories all I want and I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to see the changes that I want to see anyways. And it sucks because it doesn't feel like I should have to do this, right? Like I've done the work. I don't feel like I should have to do this. I've worked really freaking hard. But unfortunately, like I said, these are the cards that I've been dealt and I need to do this. So that's the androgen side of things. If you want to read a bit more or hear more about androgens in particular, we did a whole podcast on androgens not that long ago with Coach Cariana that you can go back to. So that's this side. The other bad thing is that I am stronger in the alpha pathway compared to the beta pathway. And so what that means is that it's more potent, which again, not great, because we know high androgens come hand in hand with poor blood sugar control, cystic acne around the chin, hair around the chin, hair loss on your head, just, things that don't make you feel great. And weight gain is one of those, predominantly in the belly as well. So hormones absolutely are going to impact that, right? So progesterone kind of sucks. Let's be honest. It's closer to the postmenopausal range than the premenopausal range. It's not where we want to be. It is not good. This is stress induced because we know that if you are in a stress state, it is very, very difficult, if at all possible, to produce progesterone. So your body just literally won't make it. So this is where I could push harder. I could cut calories more. I could go to the gym, do all the right things, cut my carbs, fast, all those things. And it would actually tank my progesterone more, which would then lead to things like fluid retention. It would increase my chances of estrogen dominance and actually belly fat. So this is why I can't cut my calories very low, because otherwise my body starts to gain weight. And this is why the inflammatory response and stress response is so extreme, because of my hyperactive response in my nervous system, despite the fact that I don't feel stressed. I feel good. I feel calmed. I feel fulfilled. I love my job. But when you're on, right, when you're quote unquote on, you're podcasting, I'm writing my book, I'm on calls with clients and my team, and I love it. It is such a huge fulfilling part of my life. I am like, I can't imagine not. But when you're on, that is a stress to your body. And so when we see a lot of type A women who are career women who have kids, or people who are always taking care of other people. We have nurses, we have teachers, we have stay-at-home moms that are always taking care of everybody else. You are on all the time. That is a stress on your body, despite the fact that you don't feel stressed. And this is me. I was in total denial. I'm like, for sure, everything is better now. Wrong. Super wrong. In fact, my cortisol was worse this time than it was before. So not great. So progesterone is crap, and that's stress induced. Then we have estrogen. So you'll see there's a lot of arrows on this one. For me, you're going to see all the estrogen's not good. It's not good. E2 is one that we want. And so then you're going to see this pie chart over here. You want to have most of that in the green with very little blue, very little red. And this is basically how your body detoxes and breaks down estrogen. So green means good. We want most of our estrogen being broken down through that green pathway. Red means bad. Typically, if red is high, this correlates to fibroids, for example. And then blue is iffy. We don't really like this, but it's very modifiable. So if your blue is higher than we want to see it, we can actually use lots of different lifestyle nutrition things to help improve this pathway, which is awesome. If you are someone who drinks alcohol, that is going to suck up so many resources from your liver. And then estrogen detox has no resources to help it detox because our liver is working so hard to detoxify alcohol, that then we have so many issues. And a lot of the time when we see a lot of women who don't have a good green pathway and has more red and blue than we like to see, these are women who can't handle scents. Scents give you headaches when you hop into an Uber or a taxi and they have perfume or cologne or something on, that you start to feel like you get a headache and you almost feel nauseous. That's pretty indicative of a poor estrogen detox. And so, like I said, we want most of this pie chart to be green compared to the red and blue. Then we also want to look at the slider bars underneath. And so we want to have most of our arrows on the right side. So this one, I'm doing very good at having higher on this side. Blue is okay. I would like to have that go up. However, with this one, the green pathway, most of my estrogen does detox there. However, my methylation activity, this slider bar, is low. That is not good. We know that if that slider bar is more to the left, that means our body is struggling to detox. There's a lot of burden on the liver. So there's some liver health and inflammation that I need to deal with here. But also if that slider bar is on the lower side, it also increases your risks for cancer. And so this is something my mom passed away from cancer. This was a big wake up call for me of okay, the other stuff was not good, right? Estrogen, progesterone, not good. Cortisol high. This was a big okay, I need to take things a lot more seriously, because this is not optimized well. This can affect my health a lot, and I don't want that. So when we're looking at estrogen detoxification, there's a lot of things that we need to address. If you go back to the detox podcast, there's a lot of information there for you. But there is a lot that I need to improve here for sure. And so there's different supplements that you can take. I'm going to talk about that a little bit after when I summarize everything. But there are a lot of things that can slow this down. So estrogen dominance is that's not something I deal with. There could be a genetic mutation potentially, but because this was better before compared to now, I don't think that's the case. Gut infections, don't think that's the case for me. There could be serotonin issues there as well. There could be medications. There's inflammation. There's lots of things that can cause issues here. For me, it's absolutely the stress, the inflammation, and that's putting a big burden on my liver as well. So I need to take it more seriously than I have been. This was, again, like I mentioned, a really big wake-up call for me because my mom died from cancer, and I don't want that to be my story. I don't want that to be my son's story. So, I'm getting emotional. So yeah, it was a bit of the reality check that I needed to take it more seriously, because you don't think that you're stressed, but you are. And then the last phase of detoxification that we can talk about is the actual elimination part. And this is addressing decreasing alcohol substantially or reducing it completely, paying attention to toxins. So we switched from using our stick-free pans to now stainless steel. We have swapped out all of our plastic containers for glass. We don't warm up food in plastic containers. Our microwave container is a glass and silicone one instead of a plastic one. Trying to drink out of regular cups instead of to-go cups. Just small things to decrease your exposure. So looking at your cleaning products, your laundry products, hair care, all those things, and just decreasing exposure where you can to really help support your gut microbiome, detoxification pathways, all those things. Making sure we're eating enough pre and postbiotics, resistant starches from potatoes. That's one of the best things that you can have. there's a lot here, and we'll go over action steps afterwards. I want to give you a nice full summary of the chaos that is my body. So that's like a summary of our page 3. Then we have page 4. There isn't a ton here that I typically look at too much. So again, it's numbers from everything that we've seen. The one thing a lot of people like to look at is creatinine. If it is low, it could be that you're overhydrated. So we got to figure that out from when you took the Dutch test. Were you overhydrated? If it's high and you were on creatine, then that's fine. If it's high though, it could be potentially a kidney issue. So looking at some symptoms for that would be really important as well, and checking it out with your doctor if that's something you're concerned about. And then page 5 is a really good summary as well. So with page 5, I like this because it shows the stress, right? You have stress going to the hypothalamus, and your stress can be anything, right? Like it can be internal or external. It could be reactions to deadlines at work, being go, calls being late, being stuck in traffic, or it could be internal, like inflammation and toxin exposure, all those kinds of things. And so here you're going to see that if we perceive stress, our pituitary is going to get a signal. It's another part in our brain. And then it's going to tell our adrenal glands, hey, we need support here. And so here you're going to see my waking melatonin is really high, which means that I'm like struggling with my circadian rhythm, which yes, I am. So needing to address that. But now we're at the adrenal glands. And so your body will produce DHEA, which is good, but then also cortisol. And so like I mentioned before, cortisol metabolism, my body is not good at breaking down cortisol. And so cortisol and DHEA kind of counteract each other a bit. So cortisol is the gas pedal. DHEA is like our brake pedal. And so we want to have a pretty even balance between the two because they are both produced in the adrenal glands. This is very key for an appropriate stress response, hormone balance, and your metabolism, your body being able to burn calories, to release fat, to open up those fat burning pathways. As you can see, my DHEA is much higher. My metabolized cortisol is low. So you can see that I'm actually running out of gas here. If I continue as I am going to end up with low cortisol. I'm going to be burnt out. My recovery is going to take significantly longer. I'm going to have a lot of health issues. And you can see down here with this little slider bar, again, it's to the left. I don't want that. I want that to go to the right. And so with this high DHEA is a compensatory response. It's trying to buffer the effects of cortisol so that my body is not getting damaged. Because when our cortisol is very high, it damages things in our body, like our blood vessels. It increases inflammation. It decreases our brain health. We see worse blood sugar control despite the fact that you're eating less, you're moving more, you're fasting and cutting calories. Like your body, that cortisol response is going to ruin that. It's going to increase inflammation, increase blood sugar issues, despite the fact that you are cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing the cardio, doing the fasting. And so this is where understanding where your body is and what's appropriate for you is going to be key, because the very thing that you are doing could actually put you in worse health. But because you're panicking about the way that you look right now and you're wanting to lose weight, you are actually creating worse health in your body. This is where pursuing fitness and weight loss actually causes disease, because this cortisol increase is going to result in high blood pressure, high cholesterol. We're going to see decreased brain health, worse hormone production, worse blood sugar control, more inflammation, more increased risk of autoimmune conditions, all of these things. And then boom, you also hit perimenopause, the estrogen starts to decline, and now she's not helping pull up the slack anymore. So it's not her fault. It's everything that's been going on prior that you didn't address. And so for myself, I need to get my crap together, because I am playing a very dangerous game where if I don't take care of myself, I could end up the way my mom did. She was healthy until she wasn't, and then it was too late, and she was gone 3 weeks later. Because the fact that you can't lose fat, you can't lower your cortisol, you can't get into that fat burning pathway means that your body also can't eat up dead cells, which are going to increase inflammation, which are going to replicate poorly, which lead to diseases like cancer. That is not going to be my story. I do not accept that. I do not receive that. This was the wake-up call that I needed. And so you can see that I'm at 19% here. I favor cortisone over cortisol. So when we look at metabolized cortisol versus total free cortisol, my body is struggling to clear and break it down. So this is metabolized up here. Free cortisol is here. So my body has a crap ton of cortisol going through it. My body is not good at breaking it down at all. Okay, that is not good. This is typical of high stress. This is typical of thyroid issues, which I also have to go get blood work for that now. Poor liver detoxification. So high inflammation. These are things that, I'm fine. I feel great. I don't feel stressed. My body is like begging me to slow down. So when we have this whole slow cortisol clearance rate, so when we have a higher free cortisol versus free cortisone, so free cortisol down here to free cortisol, so this is still high, right? They're both high, but cortisol is higher. This means that I have a slow cortisol clearance rate. So this is associated with things that tend to lower your overall metabolic rate, making your body worse at burning calories, blocking that fat burning pathway, like hypothyroidism, or maybe you don't have enough thyroid medication. Can be a low calorie intake. For myself, that's not the case because I am eating enough. I did do a fat loss phase a little while before this, which I obviously should not have. That was not my best interest and probably made this a little bit worse. Poor liver and mitochondrial function via inflammation. So this is something that we're working at. So my body is trying to turn cortisol into the inactive form of cortisone to protect my body. Because remember, like I said, that cortisol that's very high is going to damage my body. If we can turn it into cortisone, which is the inactive form, then my body will be safer. So it's doing a pretty decent job right now. Like it's higher, right? Like we're seeing some conversion, but it's not keeping up. So my body is trying really, really, really hard to protect me, like by pumping the brakes, by trying to decrease that, right? And eventually, like my body starts producing less and less cortisol over time because that drain is plugged. But the problem wasn't my body overproducing, it was that my body wasn't getting rid of it, wasn't breaking it down. So then all of a sudden, if I, improve I decrease my cortisol production, we think, oh, that's going to fix it, right? No, because now we have poor production and things are clogged. That's not good, right? We want to open up the bathtub and then allow proper flow to go through there. So this, again, big wake up call for me that, okay, I'm more inflamed than I realized. Like I knew I was, but this is not good. I'm definitely more stressed. My liver needs some help and I might have some thyroid conversion issues, which sucks, but we're going to address that. Okay. And then this last one is the natural organic acids page. And so this gives us a few different good things to look at. So we're looking at our B vitamins. Mine are within range, but they're definitely on the lower end. As soon as I got this Dutch test, I actually increased my B50 intake to help with this. We know that increasing your B vitamins will help you with progesterone, which my body definitely needs help with, but also helps improve energy. So taking that in the morning is very beneficial. Then we have our HVA and VMA. So those are down here, HVA and VMA. So this is like your dopamine and norepinephrine checks. Both of mine are below range. So this needs to be improved. So it's not a direct measure, so we need to take everything into account. This is why we do a symptom assessment with you as well. And how is motivation? How is mood? How is energy? Mine are like they're okay, not super great, definitely dependent on the time of day. And so, yes, my body is stressed out. Shocking. So the dopamine is going to be a brain and adrenal neurotransmitter. When it's low, it's almost always associated with stress. So are we surprised at this point? No. Norepinephrine, when that is low, it signals that adrenals are struggling, and there's low progesterone typically. So it's associated with, which, yes, check and check. We already reviewed that. This is in fact true. And then the last thing that I really like to look here is our glutathione marker. Where are we? Our glutathione marker, right here, glutathione marker, low end of range. And This is not good because glutathione is an antioxidant. Antioxidants are very important in all phases of life, but particularly when we start experiencing hormonal issues, hormonal decline, high stress, because when we're in a high stress state and hormones go down, our antioxidant production decreases. We need those antioxidants to help combat the inflammation that we're experiencing, to help prevent disease, and just improve our health in general, and be able to actually, again, lose weight. Inflammation will block your fat burning pathways. So if this is an issue, you're always going to struggle with weight loss. So this again is because of why? Stress. Of course, not surprised. So I'm going to be increasing my antioxidant intake with food, but I'm also going to be taking a glutathione supplement to support this as well. And so that might seem like a lot, right? And like kind of is. But there is a reason that we go through a call with this with everyone that does it. We do this with majority of women in our coaching program. We do this. You can just purchase it from us as well. And you get the call, you get the summary and everything. And so we also have a report that we write that goes through each section like I just went through, but tells you the action steps for each, paired with like nutrition choices, supplements that you can take. And so taking an overarching look at what my Dutch tests show, which is a great example because it looks very typical to those women in perimenopause and menopause, which is not good news for me, but great news for you because now it's very applicable. So for myself, with the low estrogen that I am experiencing, this means that like I need to continue strength training, very good for estrogen production, for helping with testosterone as well. But we are actually doing a 3-week deload week for myself where I am not doing any lifting. I am just walking and then doing some stretching. I told myself I was going to do 20 minutes of yoga twice a week. So that's what we're doing because my body is in such a high stress state that pushing an exercise right now will increase cortisol and inflammation. It's supposed to, but I'm at a place where my body doing more is going to be harmful or less beneficial. It'll slow down my ability to see the changes that I want. So we are actually going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that these next 3 weeks from when I recorded this podcast. I'm also going to start doing seed cycling. I don't drink alcohol, so that would be one of the first things that we would recommend because my liver health is clearly struggling and inflammation, but I don't drink alcohol, so that's not an option, but that would be something that we recommend for women. And then I'm also going to be doing seed cycling for 3 to 4 months minimum. So what this looks like is doing day 1 to 14 of your cycle. And then we can just do this for you as well, even if you're not having a cycle, because it just helps with the rhythm. So doing 1 to 2 tablespoons of flax seed and pumpkin seed in days 1 to 14, and that's daily. And then days 15 to 28, for me, I do 16 because I have a 30-day cycle. And I'm doing one, and then the second half of your cycle, you're doing 1 to 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. And this helps support the natural rhythm and production of the hormones of estrogen and progesterone that we're looking for. Big push is going to be reducing stress, supporting my sleep, doing restorative things. We're going to be increasing my progesterone supporting foods, so that my body feels safe enough to lose weight, but also I'd like to get my hormones up to a better place where I could have another child if I want to. We're doing a lot of deep breathing stuff, putting my feet up on the wall. I'm doing slow, deep breathing throughout the day. So doing box breathing, I like doing 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds. And I'll do that for like 15 breaths, or I'll time it for a minute or two, to bring my heart rate and breathing rate down to get me out of fight or flight. This is a key to improving your stress response. I can also do things to help support my vagus nerve. So this will be things like humming. I'm doing more of that to help stimulate that vagus nerve because it runs through your neck. So humming actually really helps improve the tone of that to help get you out of fight or flight more easily. Supporting blood sugar balance. So this is a really big one that you need to do for all the things to help, again, with inflammation, with bringing my androgens down, because that's a big problem as well. And so this isn't cutting carbs, because if I cut carbs, my stress response is going to go up. So I need to have carbs to bring my cortisol down, but I need to be able to do this without worrying about my blood sugar. So this looks like making sure I'm always having some protein or veggies first before dipping into my carbs. So for example, if I'm having, let's say lasagna. No, I'm having some lasagna. I'm going to have a salad first, and then lasagna, because that emptying of the stomach is what spikes and drops your blood sugar. So you want to empty your stomach more slowly. And so if I'm having some veggies or protein first before the carbs, that helps empty the rate at which your stomach, empties. So you're not going to have a big blood sugar spike and drop. It's going to be a small little elevation. It's going to maintain and then come down slowly. The other thing too is making sure that I'm not having carbs on its own. So if I'm going to have a treat or a chocolate or something, I'm having it right after a meal. Walking after meals helps a lot to help improve your blood sugar response as well. And then avoiding water around meal times and at meal times, because that also speeds up how quickly your stomach digests. So making sure that we are drinking most of our water away from our food time. The other thing too with the stress response is avoiding caffeine on an empty stomach, because that can spike your blood sugars as well, but also increases your stress response. So having food and then coffee actually helps counteract that a bit. So that's important. I am increasing my magnesium intake. So I take a magnesium powder at nighttime because it helps me get my water intake as well. But I am increasing the amount of magnesium I'm having at night. We do have a supplement guide. If you guys want, just message me and I'll send it over to you. And it has everything that I'm taking as well. Almost everything. If you have questions, I can send over some more stuff for you as well. Just message me. I'm always happy to chat. For testosterone, again, after we do this deloading few weeks, then I'm going to go back to resistance training only twice a week, long rest periods, 2 to 3 minutes, focusing on getting stronger, working in a lower rep range. Increasing my omega-3 intake through nutrition, but also through supplements to help bring inflammation down. Because if inflammation's high, hormones are going to be a mess, cortisol is going to be higher, but also it blocks my fat burning pathways. So I can't even access that. So I can cut calories and I'm not going to see changes. And again, de-stressing, very important here. So with our cortisol curve, again, the breathing, getting enough carbohydrates, supporting my blood sugar control, all of those things. And then also some supplements that can be helpful as NAC. So I'll be taking that as well. Having dandelion root tea. So that's something I'm also implementing now. Dandelion root tea is great for cortisol metabolism. Great thing to incorporate throughout your day. I don't love the way it tastes. It doesn't taste like much, but I'll usually mix it with like another tea just to get it in there. Because if it tastes gross, your girl is not consuming it. I'll tell you that much. And then, continue with walking, continue with yoga, making sure I'm drinking enough water to support my liver. I only have one. You're only supposed to have one. And then for secondary androgens, like I said, they were really high instead of going to testosterone and estrogen, right? My DHEA was good, but it's not getting converted into what we need. This, again, is decreasing inflammation through omega-3s, polyphenol-rich foods like green teas. Zinc helps, but also decreasing that stress response, right? Super, super important. I'm just trying to see if I have anything else written here. And then liver detox. This is a big one that everyone should always try to improve, because liver detoxification is key for your body and being able to lose weight. If your liver detox is poor, you're going to have more inflammation and toxins in your body, which will completely shut off your fat burning pathways. Also, if your liver is struggling to keep up with detoxification, those toxins will get stored in belly fat. It also changes the structure of our fat cells, making them even harder to break down. So liver detoxification is super key. This is where cruciferous veggies are key. I am having broccoli almost every day, you guys. Kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, because that actually helps support your hormone detoxification pathways so much. Remember, if that's not working well, cancer risk also increases. So you need to get cruciferous veggies. Make an effort to get those in at least once a day. Hydration is going to be super key as well. Dandelion root tea is also really good. So those are things that are very simple: cruciferous veggies, hydration, and dandelion root tea to help with detoxification, to support your body, your hormones, your future health, lowering inflammation. Like, that is so important, and it's so underrated how much of a difference that can make for you. Okay, I'm just gonna see if there's anything else in here. Progesterone, we talked about that already. Seed cycling, we talked about that. Sleep, we already talked about that. Making sure I'm continuing with my bedtime routine of having a bedtime snack that has carbohydrates with fat or protein in it. And the reason for this is that carbohydrates bring cortisol down. The fat or protein with it is going to stabilize my blood sugars through the night, so I'm not waking up at nighttime, and helps me have a better quality of sleep and helps you recover more, which is very important. So this is something like I like doing popcorn with either a piece of cheese or a turkey pepperoni stick. This can be oatmeal with some protein powder. This could be some yogurt with a little bit of granola. Make sure it's higher protein. There's so many options for a bedtime snack for you to have. Having that like 30 to 60 minutes before bed is great. And it doesn't have to be very big. It can be like 100 to 200 calories, nothing major. And so those are like the big action steps. I also have different foods that are helpful too. So the cruciferous veggies that we talked about, the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, those kinds of things, the kale, are really helpful for glutathione production. Remember, I talked about that antioxidant to help bring inflammation down. So not only does it help support the actual detox pathways, but it actually helps lower inflammation, so it's less of a burden on your liver as well. So not only is it taking the burden away, it's also making your liver better at it too. So that's really great. Other things that help support liver detoxification are going to be things like arugula, so like your bitter greens, lemon water, very easy thing to incorporate into your day. And again, some more things that we were talking about, like decreasing your toxin exposure, making sure you're drinking enough water, getting that magnesium in, decreasing your alcohol, de-stressing. So there's a lot of things that are repeated in this, but we will have like this marker, this is what you scored, this is what you should do. This one was flagged, this is what you should do. And we have it all in a beautiful report for you. And then we also have at the bottom what foods you should be eating and incorporating into your diet regularly to help support the things that you are low in. So for myself with progesterone, I have a list of high magnesium rich foods that are high in B vitamins and zinc that I should be incorporating daily to help support progesterone production. The information on seed cycling is in there. Foods on inflammation to help support bringing that inflammation down to support my liver, to lower cortisol. So these are going to be a list of omega-3 rich foods. There's a list of polyphenol rich foods. Foods that help support sulfation, which is, helping detoxification, creating the active form of DHEA. So instead of going to my androgens, it actually goes to testosterone, it actually goes to estrogen. And that again is going to be foods like cruciferous vegetables, onions and garlic are great too. Pretty much all animal protein will help. Vegetable proteins like lentils, peas, and butter beans, nuts and seeds like Brazil nuts and almonds and peanuts and walnuts, and then herbs and spices like green tea, mustard, ginger, and garlic. And then we also have, for myself, foods that support detoxification. So if you did not know, on my Instagram page, we have posts on detoxification grocery list. We have one on inflammation and cortisol that you can go and grab. It's just on some of the posts, just might have to search for a couple of them. I post it quite often, so you'll be able to find those. But this is where really understanding what your body needs and when, because there is a time to push, right? There is a time when you are going to drop your calories. There is a time when you are going to be able to work out harder. For me, that time is not now. For me, if I do that, I will get sick. I will gain weight. I will be more inflamed. I will decrease my liver function. My progesterone, estrogen, testosterone will continue to be low. My cortisol will continue to be high. I'm increasing my risk of diseases that are preventable. So I want to make sure that I am not taking years off my life by pursuing health, or what I think is health, which is weight loss, right? Versus adding years to my life by pulling back when I'm supposed to, healing. Because I don't know about you, to lose 15, 20 pounds right now, is that worth potentially getting sick in the future and living 10 years less, 15 years less? For me, it's not. For me, it is not. I would rather take the time to heal. I would rather take the time to make sure my body is working properly, that it is able to get rid of toxins, that I am learning to do this in a way that actually matches my lifestyle, that allows me to be here. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Because not having my mom to walk me down the aisle, not having my mom to even meet my husband, to meet my son, to be here to ask questions about what her pregnancy was like. That's hard. And I know how painful that was. And I never want my kids to have to be like, man, it would have been great if mom could be here. And so as much as I want to lose some weight and look a certain way, there is no amount of life worth giving to miss out on those things. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that kind of helps put things in perspective of, you could be doing everything right and you're not seeing changes and you're getting frustrated and upset with your body, but your body is doing the best it can to stop your body from harming itself. It's trying to protect you. Like, the reason my body is doing all these things is because it is trying to pump the brake to avoid cortisol from damaging everything in my body. And so I need to start doing things to support that, because your body can only do it for so long. So if you have questions about this, if you want those grocery lists, if you want more information on Dutch testing, if you want to know how we do this in coaching, because obviously we do this in coaching at the beginning, we figure out what are the root causes preventing you from seeing the results, what's blocking those fat burning pathways, what's causing all these issues, pairing it with our in-house assessments. And we help you know when to pull back. What do the steps of healing look like for you? Because everyone's going to be different depending on what the results look like. And then moving forward from there and helping you put the steps in the right order so that you get to where you want to be without taking years off your life. That's what it's all about. So I hope this is helpful. I love you all so, so much. Share this with all the women in your lives, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.